Hi everyone, in this session I will be discussing about the basic principle of NMR spectroscopy. So let's start with the introduction. So NMR or nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy is a powerful spectroscopic techniques for the determination of the structure of organic molecules. To find the structure of organic molecules, we study a wide variety of nuclei such as proton, carbon, fluorine and phosphorus. The most common types of NMR are proton and carbon NMR. In proton NMR, we use to determine the number of chemically non-equivalent protons and their arrangement in the molecules. While in carbon NMR, we use to determine the type and number of carbon atoms and their arrangement in the carbon skeleton. The source of energy in NMR we use is radio wave, obviously which have long wavelength and low energy. When low energy radio wave interact with a molecule, they can change the nuclear spin of the nucleus, which we are going to investigate. So now we will see what is nuclear spin. So when a charged particle spins on its axis, it creates a magnetic field and it acts like a tiny bar magnet. Now all nuclei have charge because they contain protons and also behave as a charged particles. If they spin, a spinning charge generate a magnetic dipole. So this is a spinning nucleus which is generating a magnetic dipole, and this is associated with a magnetic field. Now this generated nuclear magnetic dipole can be characterized by a nuclear magnetic spin quantum number I, and this I can take value like 0, 1 by 2, 1, 3 by 2, etc. Means 0, integer, half integer. Now based on spin quantum number, nuclei can be two types. Type 1, nuclei with I equal to 0. These nuclei do not interact with the applied magnetic field, so they are known as NMR inactive nuclei or not NMR chromophores. The condition for these nuclei is they must have even number of protons and even number of neutrons, or else they will have no net spin. And the most common example of nuclei with I equal to 0 are 12 carbon and 16 oxygen. Type 2 nuclei are those have I greater than 0. These nuclei are known as NMR chromophores or NMR active nuclei, and the condition for these nuclei that they must have odd atomic number or odd mass number, and the most common example of this type of nuclei are proton, that is 1H and 13C. But now NMR active nuclei means those have I greater than 0 can be further two types. If the number of neutron plus the number of proton is odd, then the spin quantum number of nucleus is half integer, means that will be 1 by 2, 3 by 2 or 5 by 2. But if the number of neutrons and the number of protons are both odd, then the spin quantum number of nucleus is integer, means it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So now we have to remember here, we do not typically consider nuclei has spin quantum number greater than 1 by 2 in NMR spectroscopy. The reason for this, these nuclei have both a magnetic moment and an electric quadrupole. So their NMR spectra are generally very broad. However, these nuclei are NMR active, but they are more difficult to observe. That's the only reason we do not consider them in NMR spectroscopy. So only nuclei having I equal to 1 by 2, such as proton, 13C, fluorine, phosphorus, are important to find the structure of organic molecules. So this is a spin quantum number of some common nuclei in this table. So first we have to see if an element has spin quantum number I, then it will have 2Ni plus 1 spin states. So based on that, 1H which has spin quantum number 1 by 2 will have 2 spin states. 2H which is deuterium has spin quantum number 1, it will have 3 spin states. Now 12C which has I equal to 0, so it will not have any spin states according to 2n plus I1 rule. So as shown, if we go to 19F which has I 1 by 2 again, it will have 2 spin states. 31 phosphorus which has 1 by 2 spin quantum number, it will have again two spin states. So finally, to summarize it, we can say if I equal to 0, those nuclei are NMR active nuclei and they are not useful to get NMR spectrum. Now, nuclei having I equal to 1 by 2 like 1H, 13C, 19F, 31P. These are NMR active and are useful for us to find the organic structure. Now, nuclei having I greater than 1 by 2, they are NMR active but they have electric quadrupole, so their spectra is broad, so we do not consider them in NMR spectroscopy. Now we will see possible orientation a nucleus can have. So if there is no external magnetic field applied, all the nucleus will be randomly oriented as shown in figure A. So these all nuclei are randomly oriented in space. Now in the presence of an external magnetic field, that is B0, nucleus will be aligned with or against the applied magnetic field as shown in this figure B. As we have seen in this last slide, that a nucleus with spin I has 2I plus 1 possible orientation. As a result, nucleus with spin 1 by 2 such as proton and 13C will have two possible orientation. That is orientation plus 1 by 2 and minus 1 by 2. The state 1 by 2 has nucleus aligned with the field and will be lower in energy, while minus 1 by 2 has nucleus aligned against the field and will be higher in energy. So more nuclei will be oriented with the applied field, means in plus 1 by 2 spin states, because this is lower in energy than minus 1 by 2 spin states. In the absence of external field, so both energy level are degenerate for a proton. If we take the example of proton, as shown in this figure, there is no external field and these two levels are almost degenerate in energy. But in the presence of a magnetic field, there are two spin states for a proton, like plus 1 by 2 spin states, minus 1 by 2 spin states, plus 1 by 2 in the same direction of the applied field and minus 1 by 2 in the against of the applied field, which is higher in energy, and plus 1 by 2 is the lower in energy. The energy difference between these two spin states, that's plus 1 by 2 and minus 1 by 2, is very small, and it is corresponds to the low frequency RF region of the electromagnetic radiation. Now when an external RF energy source that match the energy difference between these two states is applied, energy is absorbed and causing the nucleus to flip from one spin state to another spin state, that is from plus 1 by 2 to minus 1 by 2. So now we will see what is resonance. So when a nucleus aligned with the applied magnetic field B0 as shown in this figure, that is oriented in lower spin states plus 1 by 2, can change its spin state to higher energy spin states after absorbing RF radiation frequency, like in this way. It will absorb the energy and it will flip its spin states. Now it will lose the energy and will come back to lower energy state, that is plus 1 by 2, and this phenomena is known as resonance, and the energy emitted we use to get the NMR spectrum. So first there is a transition upward, then it loses the energy, come back to ground state, and this complete cycle is known as resonance. Again we have to noted it, as applied magnetic field increases, the gap between energy state increases. Means if we applied 1 Tesla magnetic field, we need 42.6 megahertz energy for proton to get resonate. If we apply 1.41 Tesla magnetic field, we need 60 megahertz energy. If we apply 2.35 Tesla magnetic field, we need 100 megahertz energy for proton to get resonance. So based on that, we can say the energy difference between the spin state increases as the strength of the applied magnetic field increases. Means delta E equal to B0, where B0 is applied magnetic field and delta E is the energy gap between two spin states. Now, the energy difference between the spin state also depends on the particular nucleus involved. Means you are investigating hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, etc. Because all nucleus has a different ratio of magnetic moment to angular momentum. And because each nucleus has different charge and mass, that's why it has different ratio of magnetic moment to angular momentum. And the ratio of magnetic moment to angular momentum is called the magnetogyric ratio. And it is constant for each nucleus. Means every nucleus will have its particular magnetogyric ratio. So we can say now the gap between energy state will depend on magnetic-gyric ratio as well as applied magnetic field. Because delta is also equal to h nu, so we can equal both the terms, that F gamma B0 equal to h nu. Now further, the angular momentum of the nucleus is quantized in units of h upon 2 pi. So the following equation will be as delta E equal to h upon 2 pi gamma B0 and equal to h nu. Now solving this equation for the frequency of the absorbed energy, we can say nu equal to gamma upon 2 pi B0, means the frequency or resonance energy depends on magnetogyric ratio of the nucleus and the applied magnetic field B0. So in other words, the stronger the magnetic field and higher the magnetogyric ratio, the larger the energy difference between these two spin states, and the higher the energy required for the resonance between plus 1 by 2 and minus 1 by 2 spin states. So here in this table, we can see field strength and radio frequency at which 1s and 13c nuclei have resonance. So 1H, which has a 99.9% natural abundance, require 42.6 megahertz energy in the field of 1 Tesla, because it has magnetogyric ratio 267.53. At 1.41 Tesla field, it requires 60 megahertz energy. At 4.70 Tesla field, it requires 200 megahertz energy. But magnetogyric ratio is constant, so it will be 267.53. So as we increasing the applied magnetic field, the resonance energy increasing. But now move to 13C, which has natural abundance only 1.1%. You can see if we applied 1 Tesla magnetic field, we need only 10.7 megahertz energy to net 13C resonance. Two energy states, which is 1/4 of the energy required for proton. The reason for this is the magnetogyric ratio of 13C, which is 1/4 of the magnetogyric ratio of proton. So it means when magnetogyric ratio is 1/4, we need only 1/4 energy for carbon to get resonant between two spin states in the same applied field. As another example, if we are using 4.70 Tesla magnetic field, we need 50 megahertz frequency for carbon to get resonant, which again 1/4 of the energy required for proton under the same field. So this shows that carbon required 1/4 energy in the same field in comparison to proton just due to the magnetogyric ratio. So now we can conclude that the energy gap between these two spin states depends on the applied magnetic field as well as magnetogyric ratio of nucleus, which is constant for each nucleus. Now we will see how the population densities affect the NMR spectrum. So under the applied magnetic field, the thermal energy resulting from room temperature will be sufficient to populate both of the energy level, because the energy separation between these two states is very small. However, there will be slightly excess nuclei in the lower energy spin state and can be calculated using the Boltzmann distribution equation. So this is Boltzmann distribution equation where H is Planck constant, K is the molecular gas constant, and T is absolute temperature. So this equation tells that room temperature, this thermal energy is sufficient to populate more nuclei in the lower energy state. So again, we can calculate it at 298 degree Kelvin for an instrument operating at 60 megahertz energy, and we are getting this value. After calculating it, it comes 0.99991. So means it is the ratio of 1 million up to 1,000,009 nuclei. So means there will be 1,000,009 nuclei in the lower spin states for every 1 million nuclei in the upper spin states. We can say among the 2 million nuclei, there are only 9 more nuclei in the lower spin states. Those are responsible for the observe the NMR spectra. So very few molecules in lower energy spin states are responsible for getting NMR spectra, as you can see here. Because this is 1 million, because here we are talking about 2 million nuclei, and among these 2 million nuclei, only 9 nuclei are responsible for getting NMR spectrum. Again, the excess nuclei in the lower spin states are the ones that allow us to observe resonance and overall the NMR spectrum. So as you can see in this figure, this only extra 2 nuclei will be responsible to get the NMR spectrum in this condition. But there is not only transition from lower spin states to higher energy state. From higher energy state to lower energy state means downward transition, means in this way. So because if the population of the upper and lower spin states become exactly equal like this, there will be no transition. As a result, no net signal will be observed. This situation, when the population of the upper and lower states become exactly equal, is called saturation. We must be very careful to avoid the situation of saturation when performing an NMR experiment, because saturation may occur quickly if the power of the radio frequency signal is too high. So we have to avoid it, because nuclei should get time to come back in the situation of saturation, like in this way. So finally, I would like to acknowledge these books for this presentation, and thank you very much and have a very nice day.